Tailwind is more than just CSS classes and components. It's actually a system that helps us ship applications and sites faster that look great. I'm talking about Tailwind Plus, which is formerly known as Tailwind UI. Tailwind Plus is not a paid version of Tailwind. Tailwind Plus is a set of components, blocks, and templates built on top of Tailwind, or using Tailwind, I should say, that we can buy. So those are paid for sure. It's not actually a set of components. It's more of a UI blocks, as they call them, because it's a combination of multiple components that create sections of the page that we are trying to build. And they also have templates. So let me show you quickly here. This is actually the landing page for Tailwind Plus. If I were signed in, I would have a little bit more of information. The information is more on the form of documentation and code examples that I could use. But in this case, I don't think that the documentation is going to help a lot. The point here is, why would you use this, right? So if you look here at the landing page, actually, let me go first to the templates page. So one thing that you get when you buy Tailwind Plus, it's a set of templates for different usages, right? And they have quite a few here. You could buy the individual template, as you can see here. But if you buy the whole license, you can use any of those and any other ones that they might release in the future. And those by themselves are already great, because you do have a lot included in each one of those. And normally what you can do is just grab the HTML, paste it in, adapt, whatever you want to adapt. They are actually ready to use, so you definitely have a live preview here to see what's available to you, right, in each one of those templates. You can build an application or a website with just one of those and you'd be fine. And for me, what was the drawn to this is that those sections here, right? So you have what they call the UI blocks, and in the UI blocks, they group them by marketing, application UI, and e-commerce. And they are not just your regular individual components. They are components that are grouped together to form the sections that you want to ship into your application. So a couple of examples are things that I have used already. So look at the stacked layouts here. So the idea here is that you have the nav bar, you have some form of title, and you have the body of your page. Everything is responsive. So if you click here, you get the mobile version, right? And they, for each one of those, they have a different, they have many different variations, right? And you can pick from any one of those and customize the way you like it. Another one that I have used is the multi-column layouts. So you have the left navigation here. All of those, they are also responsive. And in many cases, when they have animations here, you have the documentation telling you what to do with the animation if the animation is not implemented already. Let me see another one, page headings. This one is I used already, so you have different versions of this as well. And I'm going to show an example later of the one that I'm using. But the point here, and one more, just for the sake of it, form layouts. So you've probably seen this in different places. Forms is something I will have to deal with all the time. And if you have one that looks good like this one looks, you can just drop it in and use it, right? So how have I been using this? One example is BGG rankings. This application here actually uses Skeleton UI, and I'm not going to say anything about Skeleton UI. Skeleton UI is the one library that I'm using from the front-facing part of the application, but I did need to build an admin here. And admin is going to be used by me and a handful of people, not a lot of people. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time thinking about how to implement this UI. I just wanted to ship this as fast as I could. Skeleton UI is not a library that is very well documented, or it doesn't have a lot of examples or a lot of people using it. So for the LLMs, it's a little bit harder to output code for this kind, using this kind of library, right? So what did I do? For the admin part, I'm gonna use Tailwind as is, and I'm gonna customize the least amount that I can, because the goal for me at this point was to ship faster. And with that, all that I did is I located the sections or the UI blocks that Tailwind Plus offered that I wanted to use, and I pasted in here, and I didn't even bother changing too much of the colors. So I'm using a teal here instead of an indigo, but that's about it, right? If you come and navigate to this page and you decide to manage something here, you're gonna see Tailwind as it is and Tailwind Plus components as they are, right? Point being here is that I'm shipping this way faster because one, LLMs know this very well. They know Tailwind, they know how to ship Tailwind code. Number two, because it is a section of components, I don't need to think about how to put them together. They work together seamlessly. I just need to copy that code, paste it in, and create a component. Speaking of components, in the code base here, what I do have is a library of components that I've been created using Tailwind. So tabs here is a Svelte component. I've been using Svelte, and that's going to be important later. I pasted the HTML code, and I asked the LLM to create a component off of that. And it did, right? So that's one thing that LLMs know to do very well. Create reusable components based off a UI that they know understand. They're not trying to create a new UI. But tabs, as a matter of fact, is not a good example anymore because Tailwind released something that is called Elements. Elements is a component library that has a set of available components that are ready to use. I wouldn't even need to actually create Svelte components based off this. I had that components before, I haven't changed it, but I could now just use those components. And these elements, they are not dependent of any UI library, right? I can use that with Svelte, for instance. I don't need another library. But if I wanted to use these components with React or Vue, for example, there is a set of components called Catalyst here that works with React, and I believe it works with Vue as well. There are more components for this, and you can use with your React application. In my case, because I'm using Svelte, that's not very useful, but if you're using React, like many people are, that should be useful. One thing to add here is whatever in their blog post when they announced this, they said that they have these components and they are adding more components. So eventually we're gonna have more of these available. One more example is Party A here, the other application that I'm working on. And you can definitely see this stack navigation here that I have. And the list, all of this came from Tailwind components. And this has definitely helped me ship this part faster. So it doesn't need to look 100% like Tailwind. It does resemble a little bit, I'm gonna admit it, but it's not 100% Tailwind. It has a little bit more character in this one, and you can definitely do that, right? Point that I'm trying to make here, you can either use those components as they are if you want to, or you can customize them and adapt. A couple of downsides. Well, there's the price, right? So if you go back here to the Tailwind Plus, you can scroll and see the price. It's not a cheap license. I have paid the personal license. The thing with the price is you pay it once and you can use as many times and for as many applications as you like and you need. So that's good. Besides the price, it's not really a comprehensive set of components. So some components you might not find. The other day I was trying to use a carousel and I couldn't find one. I think there is no slider either. But one small issue that I found is that sometimes because of how they organize these components with the UI blocks, you might try to look for something and not find. So I was looking for an accordion here and I couldn't find one. But if you go into the FAQ, you're definitely going to find a accordion-like component that you could be using, right? So sometimes you don't find things the way you expect them to do, or it's not as clear how to find, but they're there. Now, alternatives to Tailwind Plus, there are many, of course. For my case, because I'm using Svelte, there are not as many as there are for React if you're using that, but I could have used Skeleton UI as I used. The thing with Skeleton UI is just what I said about documentation and LLMs not being as good with it, but I definitely like the library and it does look good. It has good themes to be used. Daisy UI is another one that is very common to be used. The thing with Daisy UI is that it's more about isolated components than the whole UI blocks thing. And I think that having UI blocks the way I have with Tailwind Plus has sped up my process a lot, and by a lot, I should say. Now, the main question is the price paid for it worth it? For me, it was the fact that I have to spend less time thinking about how I'm going to put my components together, how I'm going to build my UIs, because part of that is already being solved for me. that has sped up my process a lot. That's one thing. The second thing is I have been struggling less with LLMs when trying to make them ship the code that I needed to ship. In the past, I was trying to organize my components with Skeleton UI, and I was able to do so. It's just that it was not as fast as it is with Tailwind. So the price paid for it is expensive, yes, but if I think about the time that I'm saving with my development and my output, I think it's worth it. And that's it. If you like this video, you can check the latest one up here. Otherwise, see you next time. Thanks.